What do this, 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 and this all have in common? Stick around for a second. So when men start to get into style a little bit more later in life, we start exploring different ways to stand out and look better. One of the first things that happen is men tend to overdo it, and we start dressing a little bit overkill and then wearing things that are just sort of too nice for the occasion. For example, wearing like a full suit to a sports bar. Another thing that's common is we start wearing bold prints and patterns. So maybe you were surfing Instagram and maybe you saw some younger dude who was like super jacked and he was living in Miami somewhere and he was wearing like this crazy pattern shirt. And you thought, yeah, like that's pretty cool. I can probably do that. And sure, you probably can. But because that item is so bold and memorable, you just can't wear it all the time because then all your friends and everyone's like, hey, here comes Bob in the crazy disco shirt again. And look, just to be clear, you can wear whatever you like. I'm not over here telling you what to do. But what I am doing is trying to help you avoid some of the mistakes that I made. So back to the question at the start of this video. What do all of those things have in common? They're basically all subtle details in menswear that you can utilize that can make you stand out, but also look age appropriate, classy, and put together. So let's talk about it. Let's start with side adjuster trousers and Gurkha pants. So I've got one pair of side adjust trousers and one pair of Gurkha style pants. Now, technically, at least from what I understand, these are considered to be Gurkha pants because they've got that strap across the front. Now, these off-white trousers are from Suit Supply, and this navy blue pair of pants, this is part of a full suit that I got from Billionaire Suit. Having those side adjusters just helps elevate the entire outfit, at least in my opinion. It's something different, but also classy and unexpected at the same time. But sure, an off-white pair of cotton chinos would look just fine, but those side adjusters just take things up a notch because it's a cool little extra element. However, the thing is though, if you're wearing pants like this, your shirt needs to be tucked in. Another small detail that I've really been getting into lately and looking for is buttonless plackets, or what's called a Johnny collar. Now I've got a few of these polo shirts in short sleeve and long sleeve, and once again, that Johnny collar is just something subtle and elevated, but also different and unexpected. Let's face it, everybody is used to seeing buttons on your polo shirt, but when you show up with something like a Johnny collar, it makes a statement without having to sort of shout about it. You can also go for a zip placket, sort of like this as well. And once again though, this is something that's a bit unexpected, but it's still classy and elevated over the standard button placket. Now, something else I've been looking for a lot lately is texture and detail instead of bold prints, bright colors, and crazy loud patterns. So knit polos and those button sweater polos at a whole different level of aesthetic. Instead of looking for shirts that have crazy patterns and loud colors, over the last couple of years, I've been looking for more subtlety with what I wear. I don't need people to notice me by shouting across the room by wearing some crazy shirt. And in fact, I don't need people to notice me at all. But I will say, what is nice on occasion is when certain people, I guess, discover me by getting close and then commenting on how nice my shirt is. And I do want to say here that the fabric doesn't have to be top tier and it doesn't have to be really expensive, but it certainly can be if that's what you want. I guess what I'm looking for is some subtlety, but also a noticeable texture to the fabric. I heard myself talk, and I know that I just said subtle and noticeable in the same sentence. And I guess what I mean by that is something that's understated. You can notice a crazy disco shirt from across the room, and you can also notice an elevated knit polo. One of those two things makes it look like you're trying really hard. The other one makes it look like you don't have to try. You can also stand out in the right way with your footwear. You don't need red bottoms or spikes all over your shoes to stand out and make a statement. And I would argue that in order to make the right statement, at least in my opinion, you should be intentional, but also somewhat understated. Double monk strap shoes are a pretty good way to elevate your footwear game without going too overboard. But if you have a dressier, fancier event, a hole cut dress shoe would be another way to do that. You can also class up your casual footwear game with loafers in either a finished leather or suede. If you're a jeans and sandals guy, a nice suede loafer would be a pretty good move. And if that's still too much for you, a plain leather sneaker would be another good move. And if you've elevated things a little bit with a pair of cotton chinos, those loafers would work really well. And I guess to keep it simple, it sort of goes back to what I've said a lot in other videos, right? So if you're stuck in a rut or you're just starting out, go with nicer versions of what you already wear, right? So if you're a sneakers and jeans guy, just find better fitting, nicer versions of those things. If I had to do it over, that's what I would do. That's what I would do if I was starting, but instead, for me, I dove straight into the deep end and went way too overboard. I learned a lot though, and that was great and everything, but I sort of worked backwards. I went full dapper mode right from the start, and then I became more sort of my current polished casual self after that. And listen, if you like this type of age-appropriate menswear chat, hit that like button and subscribe down below because I'm here at least twice a week with brand new videos. As always, thank you so much for watching, live well, and I'll see you in the next one.